Hey everybody. So today I'm going to talk to you about equipment required for classes. Okay, so you've signed up for a class, my class with Page Performance Shooting or somebody else's class. There's going to be a gear list usually on the page where you sign up, or it gives you the details about this is what the class is about. Then usually underneath that, location, time, and something along that line, and somewhere in there, then there'll be a gear list. That's gear list is super important. It's not just there as a suggestion. On mine, I put required gear. That means these are the things you must have the day you show up at the class. Because I've set the class up in a manner where those things are required for me to run the range the same for everybody so we can stay together and I don't have to make any adjustments for somebody because they didn't bring what they're supposed to bring. Maybe they have not enough mags, not enough ammo, the wrong kind of holster or something like that. So let's get into the gear. So look at the gear list. First thing you're gonna see is your firearm, right? Know what kind of class you're in. If it's a backup gun class, a bug class, you're not gonna be bringing your full-size staccato or your G17 or your CZ P10 F. That's going to be your mini revolver, your small revolvers, your J-frames, your snubbies, your little LCPs, things like that. By Ruger, I don't know, Smith & Wesson, Bodyguard, maybe a Glock 42 or 43. So you're looking at those small guns, right? So just know what you should be bringing, right? If it's a class where you're supposed to be running a medium-sized gun because that's what the class is designed for. I mean, if you're running a gun and you're doing obstacles and barricades and stuff like that, having an LCP Max at 35 yards, the Max 9 or a G42 at 35 yards, it's unrealistic. It really is. So know the gun you're supposed to have. Underneath that, it's probably going to tell you how many magazines or speed loaders, right? Magazines for pistols, speed loaders for revolvers. Make sure you bring them that minimum amount. And you know what? Here's a good idea. If there's nothing that tells you how to load them, like I'll send out an email and say, hey, load all your mags the night before if you want, or don't load your mags because we've got something, we're going to start with empty mags or something like that. Load all but one or two mags, That way, when you show up, you're not sitting there trying to load mags while the instructor is getting ready and doing stuff and telling you to be downrange when you're back at the tables loading. And then you're probably going to see, and if it says 4 mags, I'd bring 5 or 6 mags. If it says bring 3 or 4 speed loaders, I'd bring 4 or 5 speed loaders. Why? Because you should have that number of magazines or speed loaders for a self-defense firearm. It's just the way it is. You should, because 2 mags, if you got your 2 mags the gun came with, or maybe 3 mags if it's a Glock, and you're constantly using those mags during training sessions, you're wearing them out, right? And that's not the mags you want to be using during self-defense. And you want to be able to cycle through mags. You want to just have spare mags in case mags break and things, or speed loaders in case they break or anything like that. I think for my 2 5-shot 38s, I have probably 8 or 9 speed loaders. Just the way it is. I spent the money. I didn't go do it all at once. One here, then one there, then one there, then one there. So underneath that, you're probably going to have your ammo consumption. So my rule of thumb, when I go to a class, if it says 500 rounds, I bring 600. I always go 100 more because maybe I'll get a chance to shoot more. Maybe I'll do a run of a drill again. I'll get a chance to do it again, right? And that thing might consume 30 rounds or something. I don't want to have to be like, I can't do it again because I just have enough ammo to finish the class. I want to be able to go, I could do this all I want. And in my Page Performance Shooting classes, a lot of times I'll say shooter's choice. But like, okay, shooter, you're going to fire anywhere from 2 to 6 rounds. That means, man, if you want to shoot 6 rounds, have at it. If you don't have enough ammo and you want to shoot 2, have at it. Extra ammo you can never go wrong with. And if you don't use it, you got some for your training session, or you could store it away and keep it for next time. Then you're going to look at, it's going to say holster type probably underneath that. This is where I often run into a few problems. Holsters. First, let's start with this. A holster requires, the majority of holsters out there, not all of them, the majority of holsters out there require a belt. So I'm not talking the belt you get from Target or the belt you get from Kohl's. I'm talking a belt designed by the manufacturer to hold a firearm. So let's take a look here. One of my go-to belts that I've had for years and years and years is the Aries Garagis belt. Great belt. Super stiff. See how it holds itself up. It's got an infinite adjustable style buckle where I can do small increments, large increments. I can adjust it as I go. Maybe I'm taking the gun out because there's a place where I can't carry my firearm. So I put it in my car, lock it away, and then I can tighten this up a hair. I come back in the car, I can loosen it up without having to do much of anything. I don't have to undo the belt and all that kind of stuff. So I love these super stiff webbing of some kind, multiple layers, nice and stiff. I've had this for a long time. And it's a super awesome belt. You know, there's tons of belts out there, lots of good belts. You can get a leather belt. Here I have a couple leather belts from 511, and I don't know who this one's from. They both have, this one has a stiffener inside of it. So you can see it doesn't just flop over completely. They both a little bit hold their shape. This is probably not the best version of a gun belt, leather gun belt. But it's actually pretty thick, so it does hold the gun where it's supposed to be, and it doesn't pull up very much. This one's got a stiffener inside, so if you like leather, you got stuff like that. And you know, another company I've seen but haven't used, Mean Gene Leather, and I've seen their stuff and it's great. You know, there's lots of options out there. So you got webbing, you got leather, and then you have suspension systems. So I run most of the time I'm running Philster Enigma system with my 0.28 Customs Kydex holster. And I run a little different than normal. I've made some modifications, not modifications to the Enigma, but what I did is instead of using a leg lanyard, if you go look up Philster Enigma, you'll see there's a leg lanyard normally. I use this Discreet Carry Concepts metal clip right there, and that clip then holds onto my pants. Now the idea behind this is the strap system holds your gun on you. I use the clip because it actually keeps my pants in place. It keeps my shorts in place. And when I draw it grabs onto the clothing so it doesn't pull up. So that works like very similar to the lanyard for me. My adjustment that I made, and it happened to work. So then I took the lanyard right off. Lanyard was fine, but I liked this better because I found my pants would shift up and down on me while the gun stayed in place, and I didn't like that. And I can wear this in my gym shorts, my jogging pants, whatever I'm doing at the moment. Not that I jog very often, but nonetheless. So that doesn't require a belt, but you know, so you're good if you bring something like that, but all these other holsters I'm about to show you require a belt. So belt is huge. If you're buying a gun and you're going to carry that gun and you're going to get a holster that requires a belt, get a good belt. So let's look at some holsters. Let me grab my Aries Garagis belt here. Okay. So first type of holster, very common I see come to class. So it's called a belt slide holster. So it's got two loops on the back, and the belt simply slides through like that once it's in your pants, right? So you get it 2/3 of the way through your pants, then you fish it through those loops. Now this is all secured to your waist, and you're good to go, right? And then you can throw your mag pouches on here, and this will take the weight all day long. Belt slides are good, very, very common, easy to get. Lots of different holsters out there, lots of different designs for belt slides. Find one that fits your needs. This is probably one of the best ones I've ever had design-wise. This guy doesn't make them anymore. It doesn't have his markings on it. I don't remember who made it, but man, this was a solid holster right there. Good. I love that wing on the back. And everybody makes them. 0.28 Customs. If you're here in Connecticut, they make a great holster. Check them out. And they make belt slides. And then you have an E. So if I get people, they're like, hey, I'm buying a gun, but I'm not going to buy a holster because I'm not going to carry the gun. I'd be like, man, you know what? It's always good to have a holster. They're like, I don't really need a holster. I'm not going to, it's going to be home defense gun, right? I'm like, well, picture this. You're sitting in your house one late afternoon and you hear sirens off in the distance. All of a sudden there's a car crash in your front yard. Sirens are right outside your front yard. And there's some dude running with a firearm in his hand, and then all of a sudden a few seconds later there's a bunch of cops chasing him, and he's running down your street. Maybe this happened down the street from you. He's running towards your house, and he's out and about around your house somewhere, armed, trying to get away from the cops, which means there's a possibility for a shootout at that point in time, and that means that criminal is desperate. Okay, you, the home defender, now you're like, oh, let me go get my gun. So you grab your handgun and you're like, okay, lock my doors, my windows are locked, I'm secure to my house, this guy tries to come in, he's getting it. Now you're like, oh, I gotta do something. Let me put my handgun down. Let me walk over here. Let me walk over there. Now you're away from your handgun, right? You're not going to keep, most people aren't going to keep moving it around. Well, you buy a simple holster that you can clip onto your belt real fast for $50, $60, and your problem solved. Now you can throw this thing on your hip. What I'm talking about is a paddle holster. So this holster has a paddle. So this is another 028 Customs Kydex holster, and I put a Blackhawk paddle on it. So this slides on like this, and now it just slides right on. So you slide that into your, boom, right into your waist pants, assuming you have something that can hold it up on you. If not, maybe go grab a gun belt and just throw a gun belt on. Now you can walk around your house armed with your gun on you everywhere you go, and you just sit there and do what you got to do. And then when the situation's resolved, if nothing happened, you take it off, take the gun out, throw it back wherever you store your gun, take your paddle holster off, put it wherever you store that, and you're back to normal life without any issues. The paddles do make a difference. I like a nice wide paddle. That's why I like these Blackhawk ones. Nice and wide. Gives me more, I feel like it gives me more stability on the firearm when it's in my waistband and I'm doing things like drawing and maneuvering with it. So belt slide. Oh, by the way, here's a leather belt slide, right? You know, this is a pretty good holster. It's got slides right there, right? This one's by Vandal Custom Leather in Enfield, Connecticut. Nice holster there. Then you have inside the waistband holsters, okay? I generally wear, if I'm wearing inside the waistband, I wear up front, my appendix area, and using that Enigma system. But what's on that Enigma is a simple holster like this. Now you can use Filster's holster. If you already have one, a lot of times you can make it so it'll fit that Enigma system. That's what I did. My 028 Customs one fit that thing just fine. So here's one by 028 Customs right here. And it is just a good, solid inside the waistband Kydex. I've set it up for appendix because it has a wing and it has a wedge, foam wedge on the back. And I put these Discreet Carry Concepts clips on there. I think this is the monoblock version. And this thing, man, when I put this on, whether I have a belt on or not, if I've got good solid pants or shorts on that aren't going to sag or pull up and down under the weight of a gun as I'm drawing it or moving with it, these Discreet Carry Concept clips will keep the holster in place. It's not going to be coming out, unlike those crappy plastic clips that you get with a lot of your holsters. So there you go. Now, next thing you need to know about holsters is retention. Okay, so holsters and retention. So let me take out my Glock here, G45, so 19 slide. Okay, so loaded handgun. When I hold it upside down, it doesn't fall out of the holster. See that? That's what you're looking for. When you put a gun in a holster, you want it so it doesn't fall out. Now, that being said, the way that works is this. Usually, there's some kind of molding around the trigger guard. So see how there's a mold around the trigger guard and it indents into the trigger guard a little bit. So that clips around that trigger guard. So you have what I call friction fit. It's friction with a little bit of snap right here from this indentation around the bottom, the front of the trigger guard. So you can tighten like this one, you can tighten it. This one, you can tighten the tension here. This one, you can tighten the tension here. So it's nice to have that. You can get it snug where you like it. But these are specifically designed for Glocks, right? If I had a SIG 320 or CZ P10 or whatever firearm I have, I like to get a holster that is designed for that gun and not just one of those pouch holsters. If you're going out and grabbing your Uncle Mike's pouch holster or this nylon pouch holster or that nylon pouch holster because you're cheap, stop right there. Don't bother signing up for my class unless you're going to buy a good holster, okay? Most instructors are going to tell you that. They don't want you coming to the range with garbage holsters because then it creates more problems and solutions. So get yourself a good holster. I'm not saying Uncle Mike's holsters are crap, but the pouch ones are. The ones that are just a nylon pouch, those are crap. Even the ones that are just a leather pouch, those, in my opinion, are garbage as well. You want something that molds to the gun and has some kind of minimal retention. Let's see, right here, I have one. You have holsters, don't have one here with me. You have holsters that have retention like this Fireland GLS, where it's got a paddle or a or belt slide, I think. And you can put that on, and what happens is there's an actual mechanical device you have to defeat. So that's a security device. Anytime you have to defeat something, it's a security device. Levels of security. So if I have one level of security, which is pushing on whatever finger thing I have to push in on, that's one level of security. If there's a hood I got to defeat, that's a level of security. Some people say that having to draw straight up is a level of security. I don't believe that. When we used to have to twist or rock the holsters to unsnap them from something inside the holster, that was a level of security. So, those aren't generally required. If you're going to open carry, it's a really good idea to have some kind of level of security, not just friction fit. So you've picked out your holster. Okay, let's set up this here. I picked out my holster, picked out my belt. I'm like, all right, ready to rock and roll. The instructor wants me to have 4 mags on me when I'm on the range. Well, I'll stick all those mags in my pocket. Probably not a great idea. Does it work? Sure. Now, let's look at it from this perspective. When you're out in the street carrying a firearm, it's a good idea to have backup source of ammunition, whether it's a speed loader for a revolver, okay, or a magazine for a pistol. It's a good idea to have a spare source of ammo. Primarily, so if something goes wrong with the firearm, you can then reload, okay? Not so much that you're going to run out of ammunition. I mean, Connecticut, you're only carrying 11 rounds max in the gun. If you got a revolver, you only got 5 or 6 generally. And that's you might want one with that. It's definitely good to have a speed loader and practice with it. With your revolver with 11 rounds, you should be able to get the job done in 11 rounds according to statistics, but maybe you run into one of those incidences where you need more than 11. Or maybe you get malfunctions. Maybe the mag drops free because you tripped and fell, or you got in a fight with the person as you were trying to defend yourself or defend somebody else, and the mag came free, right? So it's nice to be able to reload that if you were to be able to break contact or get your gun out in the middle of a fight and get a new mag in there. So coming to class, it's more about easeability of getting to your ammunition than it is this is what I'm going to carry on the street sometimes. Now, I carry inside the pocket a magazine pouch, 2 kinds. I carry the Neo Mag, and then I carry one by M2 Tactical in Norwalk, Connecticut. And they both go inside the pocket. When I go to a class, like I just recently went to a Modern Samurai Project class, 2-day class, and my primary reload the class didn't deal with reloads. It was about shooting. But my primary reload when I had to reload was from that pocket pouch that I normally carry every day. That way I was getting repetitions in. If I forgot, I usually had a mag on my belt, and then my 4th mag, if I needed R3, was in my back pocket. Being that I came from Connecticut and I know we only have 11 rounds, 10 round magazines, and everybody else from free states is coming with 17, 16, 15 rounders, stuff like that, then I knew I was behind the power curve, so I usually pack a couple extra mags. So what can you do to get the mags on your belt? I have really enjoyed these G-Code Scorpion mag pouches. I put the monoblock on the back by Discreet Carry Concepts, and when you put this thing on your belt, this monoblock, it's not coming off without you deliberately taking off, which is nice. I've had some others, honestly, like the one that comes from G-Code, this thing sucks. I've had that thing come off belts numerous. I leave this one on there as an example. All the rest of my Scorpion mag pouches have monoblocks on them. I had to do a little work on the monoblock to get it that way, but I did. And then, so this is a rubberized pad inside here on each side with a Kydex around the edges of it and bungee retention. Nice. You can go something simple like a simple Kydex pouch that, like the pistol, slides onto your belt through those belt loops right there. Those are available in most stores. Nice thing about this, like this is mag specific. This is a G43. Okay. I got rid of my G43. Never be using that again probably. Now, this fits single stack, double stack, mags, whether they're 1911, 45 ACP double stacks, 9mm double stacks, 9mm single stacks, whatever it is, this fits it, which is nice. So that's a good way to go. So you buy a couple of these, throw them on your belt. Then if you need that other mag, you can always throw it in a pocket and reload from one of these. I don't carry these on the street. They're my way in a training class to just carry spare mags in an orderly manner. So good solid belt, good sturdy holster, some mag carriers. And you've hit most of the things you're going to need to bring. Then there'll be some ancillary things below that are required. Eye protection, ear protection. Eye protection, pretty simple. Shooting glasses, you get them anywhere, right? You can get them at Home Depot, Lowe's, your Ace Hardwares, you get them shooting stores, your Cabela's, your all those kinds of places, outdoor stores as well. Then ear protection. Let's talk ear protection for a second. My recommendation, I put this in my list, is a recommendation, not a requirement for the ear protection. So ear protection is required. The recommendation is electronic ear protection if you can afford it. You can get it as little as $50 these days. Electronic earmuffs or the in-ear electronic ear protection is nice because what happens is you can hear the instructor without him having to yell or her having to yell, and you don't have to take anything off if you can't hear. So that's a nice thing to be able to do. So when the shooting starts, the electronic ear pro shuts down and becomes regular ear pro. And then when there's no loud noises above a certain decibel, it turns back on to electronic listening and you can now hear. And if you never used it, when you do use it for the first time, crank up the volume, you'll be able to hear like a squirrel fart across the range. They're that good most of the time. So, and then the more you spend, the better the quality of the sound you're going to get. And the more features you're going to get. So that's another good thing. What else? After that, it's luxury stuff. Well, it's not. Right after that, note-taking material. This is so underused. Note-taking material. You should be taking notes at classes. You can be taking notes of the drills you're running. You can be taking notes of what the instructor says about different skills he's teaching you or she's teaching you. And then when you go to the range, you can open up your notebook. When you go for practice, you can open that notebook. You'd be like, okay, instructor said A, B, and C. That way you're not trying to just go straight off of memory. You can run videos. My classes, you can at least. You can run videos of what I'm doing. That way you can look at the video later and go, okay, what was Frank doing? Okay, there he goes. Let me replicate that. So that I require is mandatory. Then it's like usually ancillary stuff like water, snacks, chairs, sunscreen, bug spray, clothing. Clothing, I'll say this. You should be, if you're shooting at a class, you should be using closed-toe shoes. Let's start with that. And I would say, look at the range you're going to. If you're going to a concrete indoor range, wear something that is going to be comfortable for 8 hours on concrete or 9 hours on concrete. But if you're going to an outdoor range, understand that if it's a grassy range and it's wet, your feet are going to get wet. So you want to be able to deal with that. So if you think it's going to be a wet morning, you may want to put something on your feet that is going to help your feet not get wet. So you are not miserable for the next couple hours because your feet are wet. Because when you're miserable, you don't learn as well. Now, if you're going to a class where you're testing your skills versus learning skills, different. Be miserable. Test your skills while you're miserable. Test your skills in bad weather conditions. While you're learning a skill, it's nice to learn it in nicer conditions. That way, there's less stress on your brain and you have an easier time concentrating on what's going on and studying what's happening in front of you. So look at that, what else? Is it going to be a gravel range or a sand range, right? If it's a sand range, you might want to wear a taller shoe. So sand's not getting in your shoes. If it's gravel, what feels good on gravel for you? So look at that kind of stuff. Is it going to rain? Do I need to bring a rain jacket? Do I need to bring rain pants so I'm not soaking wet all the time? So things to think about. If you have any other questions about what to bring, what not to bring, what kind of holsters to get for classes, what kind of belts, anything along that line that we talked about here today, or any other questions, please go down below. Throw your question down below. Make your comments down below. I love the comments. Let's try and stay positive. I'm all for feedback. Give me your feedback. Let's try and stay positive. Let's try and stay nice and have a good discussion below each feed. That being said, the other thing, please, I need you to subscribe to my channel. That would be super huge. And that includes my social media, my Instagram and my Facebook. Like the video, please. Like the video. And share the video and save the video. Those 4 things on YouTube would be very, very helpful. If you got any questions, you can head to my website. You can send me a message. My phone number's on there. You can literally call me. That is my cell phone, my business cell phone. So have at it. I don't mind. That's it for today. I hope you got something out of this little tutorial here if you're coming to a class. Otherwise, hope everybody stays safe, stay free. See y'all later.